This episode of The Tome Show is brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you to our patrons at patreon.com/The Tome Show. Welcome to The Tome, a D&D news, reviews, and interview show, and I'm your Tome host, Jeff Greiner. And in this episode number 393, we're going to seek help from a friendly hag as we look at the 2024-25 version of the Monster Manual. Joining us for this episode is, you'll notice, not Tracy. She's needed a break from us. But I figure without Tracy here, we'll be able to fly through all of these monsters, because she's usually the thing slowing us down, right?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. That tracks.
Yeah. Joining us for this episode is the Grell of the Tome Show. Brandon Stoddard comes to us from Dimension 20, Worlds Beyond Number, and other things, as well as being a Tome Show regular. He's basically a big brain flying high.
Yeah, with beak and tentacles. Yeah, that seems right.
But mostly a big brain. Yeah. And also on the team tonight is the Green Dragon of the Tome Show from Gnome Stew, What Do I Know, JR, the podcast They Go With Advantage, Jared Rascher, who speaks wisdom so fierce it's basically poison to the unbelievers.
Yep, gonna go mess me up an Elven King here.
There it is.
All right.
Have you considered making any part of your name reference your color instead of two colors that aren't green?
Shh. I mean, science kind of greenish.
Okay. Sure, Jan.
All right. In case you didn't catch on, we are talking about the Monster Manual. D&D 5e got an update in 2024. In 2025, the Monster Manual came out. We are doing a monster by monster dive into this book. We are 16 episodes into our dive into the Monster Manual, and we are, I'm hoping, gonna finish the G's today. So to get us started, it's disclosure time. Jared purchased the book and is our honest broker. Everybody else got review copies and is a heartless shill.
Accurate.
There you go. So we finished off in the last discussion of the Monster Manual. And this was, for us, a good month plus ago. And for the listeners, it was like 20 episodes ago because of the 12 Days of Edition Wars that came out in between the recording here. But we finished with Grey Ooze. We talked a lot about the weirdness of the origins of the psychic Grey Ooze. And now we're talking green dragons. So this is not our first discussion of dragons, because, as I will remind you, this book is not organized in a way that makes sense. We've talked about dragons a lot, so we kind of know the gist of the changes over time for people who are new to D&D with the 2024 rules update. Green dragons are forest-dwelling dragons that are evil and breathe poison gas. Is that the basics?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the essentials going way back.
And they are historically named with colors that are not indicative that they are green.
Well, certainly my man Cyan Bloodbane not beating the Chargers.
A very famous green dragon from Dragonlance, for people who don't know.
Yeah, I would say there probably wasn't much of a personality to green dragons other than that they're the forest ones until Cyan Bloodbane, and then they became the ones that like to screw with your head.
Yeah, and they nod to that in the stat blocks. I noticed by the time you get to the adult and the ancients, they're doing mind spikes and stuff. So,
and I mean, I like giving them that extra bit of personality for sure. Because I just covered this in Edition Wars, the fact that they breathe out chlorine gas comes from the first book of monsters there ever were. Mm-hmm. That's the starting point. There's not much else about them. They live in, or I think they might live in forests. Forest dragon, breathe poison, done, and then everything else comes after.
Oh, in terms of in the beginning, that's what they were?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how have Brandith, you're our expert or our master of the evolution of things. How have the 2024 Green Dragons changed from the 2014 Green Dragons?
Well, it's honestly a bit unusual to have AC and hit points not change at all. But those are perfectly steady here.
Mm-hmm.
The movement doesn't go anywhere. Well, you get what I mean. The movement doesn't change. Pardon my
The
phrasing.
movement's 0 now.
Doesn't go
Right? Oops. And so the wormling is really steady, other than, of course, the bite changing to rend situation, and they pick up multi attack, so they are kicking out more damage every turn, just because they get another whole attack with something that is identical to their bite damage. So that suggests that they were underperforming in 2014.
Yeah, it was really,
wants to fight.
the baby dragons were not punching up to their weight class there.
Yeah. For a CR2, right? Yeah. And it's. I mean, this is other than the change to bite becoming rend with multi attack. This is the same. So that's very, very stable. So skipping up to young. At young, again, AC and hit points are unchanged, movements unchanged. They continue to have the same skill modifiers and so on, because of course they do. If the stats haven't changed, you get it. Let's see. Here again, bite and claw change to rend, and so something that is probably nominally a claw attack at some point now deals poison damage the way the claw didn't before.
Yeah.
So, you're looking at some gain in total damage output. It's not a huge increase in total damage output, and poison breath is the same. So very similar.
The 2014 had a damage potential of 44 across the 3 attacks, and the 2024 has a damage potential of 54 across the 3 attacks. So it's about 10 hit points, but that's across 3 attacks. So
yeah. So it's going to take some doing to notice that, right? Since the odds that all 3 of those hit aren't maybe ideal, right?
Right.
So young is staying pretty stable. Moving into adult, once again, AC and hit points unchanged. I can't emphasize enough. That's not actually normal from 2014 to 2024. Really, a lot of creatures needed some kind of adjustment there. And because layers have gone away in terms of layer actions, instead, things now get more legendary actions and more legendary resistances in their layer and are worth more XP in their layer, right? So that is represented here. Then this is where we see, any meaningful change to their action loop. They've lost frightful presence.
Yeah.
Because I've just covered this in Edition Wars, I will say Frightful Presence is something with exactly the same sort of pedigree within D&D rules as Poison Breath for Green Dragons.
Yeah.
It appears exactly as often. Always until 2024.
Yeah, that's a big change.
They just aren't scary anymore, apparently.
Well, fair enough, I guess. CR15 just isn't what it used to be, kids.
Well, that said, they did pick up all of the spell casting and the mind spike and all of that kind of stuff.
No, they did.
That
They
didn't
did.
have in 2014. So
No,
they're
that's absolutely
they're
true.
more mess with your mind dragons in this version than they were before.
Right, for sure. And Mind Spike is pretty cool and all. Don't get me wrong. And if you need, I think it's the one that lets you like track someone, right? You can divine on them, so that's pretty cool.
That's a good question. I should
And
actually
then-
go look and see what mind spike is.
I'd appreciate that very much. And then they can also cast detect magic and guess. My proper Irish pronunciation of that word is not ready to go.
Gesh,
Not ready.
Gesh, I think.
Yeah, probably, but see previous. Then on legendary actions, things are pretty changed around. They used to have in 2014 they have detect, always a bad use of your legendary action. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Tail attack, pretty good, pretty good. And it's only 15 damage, but 3 times around it's real good. And then wing attack for 2 actions, the big AOE wing buffet. Now they have mind invasion, another use of mind spike. Noxious miasma, which is each creature in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point the dragon can see within 90 feet takes a little bit of poison damage. If we're being honest, at CR15, 2d6 poison damage is probably not rocking your world. But the penalty to AC until the end of the next turn is more of a problem.
and it's an AoE.
That's right. So, splashing area damage starts to add up is sort of the lesson here. If it manages to disrupt a spell with that, now we're somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And then failure or success, the dragon can't take this action again to the end of its to the start of its next turn. That's sort of the way they're sort of controlling GM tactics. But it sort of suggests that Noxious Miasma is the one they see as strongest, which, if you can hit multiple targets, is correct.
Because you don't have legendary actions that take 2 actions anymore, or things like that.
Mind Spike is the spell that does normally 3d8 psychic damage, but they have a higher level version, so it does 48 psychic damage, and then then it sticks in your head, and they get to know where you are at all times. You can't hide, you can't become invisible, any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
what's extra kind of awesome about it is that it lasts for an hour, and has a pretty long range, so you could track somebody for a long time.
And finally, they can pounce, which is where they move up to half their speed and make a rend attack. So that's a pretty solid combat loop, to be honest.
Yeah, I like a legendary action that gives you a little bit of mobility too.
And
I noticed a lot of things now too have a legendary action that does the move half your movement and make an attack.
Yeah. Well, so I may have mentioned this in a previous episode, but I was in a boss fight in my friend Colin's game where we had all of these little force movement powers so that we were able to work it out so that the boss which didn't have a reposition and attack legendary action could never use its melee legendary. This is a ton of short range teleporting, thunder waving, all of the shoving, all this nonsense, but hugely beat out the expected effectiveness of those tactics to reduce what that boss could do to us. So this is kind of getting to, hey, that tactic might be a little too good against dragons. What if we gave them a tool for that? And then, of course, the other 2 options are range, so that's also solves for that.
Half of its flight is still 40 feet, so
yeah. And just that kind of quick pounce is a good visual. The one thing I'll say in defense of cutting Frightful Presence is that it's a bad use of the dragon's turn.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that like they can use Frightful Presence as part of their multi-attack, well, yeah, that helps a lot. But like they could have done that some other way. I do think it is more essential to the dragon and to the paladin that wants to fight the dragon and have their aura of courage matter to the whole party. So that's a weird dynamic, but yeah.
I know they're not going to waste the word space on this, but I would even feel better if they still had a fear effect that was not likely to affect PCs of an appropriate level to attack them, but the story was still there that most people are going to be terrified of this thing on a supernatural level.
Right. And that's a kind of, as you say, they just aren't going to spend column inches on what's essentially narrative positioning.
And in fairness, most NPCs are going to freak out and run away regardless of whether it has frightful presence.
Right. Like if the DM wants that to happen, they just run anyway, is what it amounts to. Like they don't want to deal with proving the point with an action, but I don't know. I can feel more than one way about it at a time.
Yep.
I promise.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we know that, but somebody that is just coming into D&D that doesn't realize that dragons normally cause people just to go panic and run might not think about, having that reaction, and dragons are just the exact same as every other monster, and it's...
And that means that listening to the Tome show is basically an obligation that people should... We're doing important work out here. We're on the front line. Yeah.
That said, if you've gone through that stat block, the ancient is largely much the same.
Right.
It's as usual. It's the adult who's souped up. There is a change I see in the hit points. 2024 has more hit points.
Yeah. I mean,
ancient finally got more. Yeah.
Yeah. But 402 hit points at CR22 is quite respectable.
And the more hit points it gets is maybe going to be one hit, but
yeah, tops.
Yeah.
But much as you're saying, the adult to ancient is always sort of just a numerical upscale rather than changing the combat loop to speak of.
One of the things, though, that I do like about the changes in this monster manual is that legendary resistances aren't always 3. 2014, if you had legendary resistances, you had 3 legendary resistances, and the players got to know that. Now it changes by the monster, and because I'm even mixing 2014 and 2024 monsters into my game at the same time, they really have no idea if they've actually expended all those legendary resistances or not.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. There was also... So we who played 4th edition understand that anything with legendary is the 5e way of talking about solos, right?
Yeah.
Even if it remains best practice to include some ads in that fight. There was a fairly brief design window that was released under the title Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, where they played with trying to design elites that had like 1 or 2 legendary resistances, 1 or 2 legendary actions. Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting. I think I'm sorry that sort of design branch seems to have been thrown to the fire. Right.
Just from the standpoint of these being the dragons that mess with people's heads, I like that they get modify memory, because that is a I can picture a green dragon defeating a party of adventurers, not killing them, and convincing them something completely different happened, and just waiting to see what seeds, what those seeds produce.
Right, and Gesh, is very much doing the same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You remember, but also you're stuck with this thing I'm making you do. So get wrecked, I guess. Right.
I would like to say I am very happy that the regional effect got rolled into the description for layers, that green dragons are Disney princesses.
Right. Yes.
All of the small animals in their domains are their spies and report to them.
Right. I mean, it's unfortunate the poisonous thicket doesn't put stupid ass princes to sleep, but you can have everything, right?
They did, though. That was another thing that was interesting, though, because the regional effect before created those thickets, but then you had to kind of decide where they were at, and then there was a mechanic for people not running into them. And now it's just, hey, if you take a long rest in a domain controlled by a green dragon, you might be poisoned.
Yeah, I mean that's really cool. gotta be smart about it.
Ate the wrong apple.
I would say, other than the perennial, we're always going to grouse about it, fearful presence, I kind of like this. I mean, not that apparently green dragons were one of the most well-adjusted monsters in 2014 up until later stages anyway.
Well, yeah, and if they were off by 17 hit points, I mean, they were fine.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, this change overall is fine. It's good.
All right, we're ready to move on to green hags then?
I am ready to move on to green hags.
Okay. So our next creature is the green hag. I believe our first hag. This is, in many ways, the green hag is the baseline default hag, and then everything else is sort of a modification of that, right? There's the green hag as your baseline, and then your night hag, which is your like scary planner hag, and then you're like your sea hag, which is your aquatic version of a hag, but the green hag is your baseline, lives out in the forest or the swamps and makes fell bargains with people who come seeking assistance, and the assistance is never quite in the form that you expect it to be, sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I've always looked at the 5e 2014 hag stat blocks and said, aren't these really low CR for what we're selling as a fantasy? But okay.
There is a great sequence in Baldur's Gate 3 that involves a green hag as a recurring villain. She is absolutely not standard green hag stats, because you would have destroyed her easily.
Yeah.
Thematically, she does all the things a green hag does.
I mean, honestly, it's why most of the time in my campaigns, if I put a green hag or if I put a hag in it, it's almost always a night hag, because
sure,
power wise, they're the only ones that can actually stand up to the story.
Well, right, and if you enjoy the Blood War, as Jeff, I know you do,
there you are.
Night hags are the ones involved with it.
Right.
And I think
the larva trade is the most interesting of the stories.
We did look at arch hags already, which was the new epic level hags. But that also reminds me of what we're talking about right now, which is they threw in the arch hag, which is at that CR 20 range. I really think we need a tier 3 hag. That's the one we didn't get.
Right. And you've got Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and the hags that are in that as, I think, tier 2-ish stat blocks, right? They're there for you for something. Even if you aren't going to really sort of dig around and do a lot of retuning to get the CR right, just cranking up the hit points so they get more chances to do their bad stuff
right
is real easy CR jiggering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that we go straight from night hags, which are, involved in the blood war and trading souls and that kind of stuff at CR5, and then straight to what, CR20 you said with the Archhag?
Yeah.
Right.
That's a
I mean,
huge jump.
there's no one stopping you from using an Archmage stat block as a CR12 hag, right? But yeah,
It's a thing.
it's a thing. There are weird gaps in CR bands.
Yep.
That's as someone who's written adventures for publication, this is a huge headache.
Right. Which means hags are super useful for low level. And they live up to the power and whatever. Like you can tell the story of Snow White with a green hag, and it gets along fine because you assume everybody else is level 0 or 1. And the night hag is there for a little bit more oomph, but not much more. And then you just don't tell stories with hags anymore for a while.
I think if I were to vote on a set of monsters that got the higher CR upgrade version of them, I would have done it for each of the standard hags.
Yep. Something in the 12 to 17 band for each of them would be super nice.
Yep.
Super nice. Not least of which is because from 2014 to 2024, you know who loved making hags the main villains? WotC. WotC loved it. No. It was their thing.
Hags are in as many of the published adventures for 5e as Modrons are, and Modrons were the other thing that they like to sneak into everything.
Yeah. And have they published a Great Modron March? No.
I really thought that's where they were going with all those.
Right?
They were leading to that.
I want someone else to understand the joke. Primus sucks. Okay.
But there was even a reference to it. Was it in Out of the Abyss? No, maybe. I don't know. There was an adventure where you run into a Modron because they were sneaking Modrons everywhere.
Yep.
It was one of the running themes, and that one was specifically talking about the march. Like it was just repeating the that the Modrons were on the march sort of phrase over and over again, but then they never.
It's a thing in the Planescape adventure, right? I'm not making that up. I think.
Maybe, yeah. Oh, yeah, that sounds right.
But it's also totally a thing in the video game. Come on, brain. Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms.
Oh.
They make a whole thing out of the Modron March.
No, there were kind of three themes that they really like playing with in 5e. Modrons, hags, and obelisks, and they've pretty thoroughly addressed the obelisk issue in a couple of ways.
Sort of.
Kind of, sort of. I mean,
they've addressed it by saying, we built this up for a lot of nothing.
Well, you at least know where they came from.
The conclusion of rhyme is not nothing. Yeah. It's just not. They're not going to tell you what to do next. You're on your own, bud.
Yeah, it felt like that was hey, we're finally giving you some information that's going to point somewhere else instead of it just being an Easter egg. And then it was like, no, this is it.
Yeah.
Right. That was a bit weird.
Poor Spellweavers.
The obelisk is the one of those three things that they chose to actually follow up on. Even if you don't like the follow up, they followed up on it as opposed to Modrons kind of sort of get a mention, and hags are just sort of a thing that keeps showing up for whatever reason.
Sure. Because making funny old woman voices is,
Yeah,
I guess
and I'll tell you what, my players are inclined to talk to hags and not just treat them like a monster to go run up and kill. So
that's good.
Yep.
You like to see that.
I'll also say that it gives you the excuse to tell somebody to go watch Legends so that you can see Meg Mucklebones in it, because that was an amazing bit of special effects there for
God bless Robert
a mid-'80s movie. Yeah.
So anyway, it's been 15 minutes. Let's talk about green hags. We've been talking a half an hour, and we've talked dragons and haven't hags. So.
Yep.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm shocked by this outcome.
Yes.
All right, so
So with Green Hags, we get one of our random table entries here it gives you a hint as the sort of bargains that Green Hags will make, which I like as a bit of inspiration. I don't like it as a random table, but like random tables don't have to be random; it can be a menu.
yeah,
I also like that they led with green hags being dangerous information brokers and not just predatory things.
Yes.
yeah, I love a good memory trade. That's fun times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and all of these are pretty cool. I could be into all of those. I mean, they're sort of saying there's not a unified sort of why of hags in this text. In terms of like, why do they want what they want? It's bitterness. Their thing is bitterness. And I mean, this is boiled down from a whole page of lore and then another quarter page for Green Hags in 2014. So that feels kind of bad. And I definitely miss the Hag Coven situation. I thought that was an interesting bit in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, they still have coven magic, but now it's specific to each type of hag, and it is way dialed down.
Right. The kind of shared spell pool situation, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the shared spell slots. That was really interesting, is what I'm getting at.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Even if they're stuck with some spells that are not going to be very useful in a fight, like I Bite. I'm sorry, I Bite. You're bad.
And they've taken the illusory appearance and sort of bundled it into their at-will spellcasting abilities. So now they just cast Sky Self on themselves, which I guess is a more uniform way of handling that. And they give them a handful of other spellcasting abilities that they didn't have before. They can rate
right. And they have invisibility to replace invisible passage, which in fairness is really doing the same job.
Yeah.
And then the claw actually loses a little bit of damage, but they have multi-attack, so they do make it back. And I don't know.
One of the things that I find interesting is that 2014 hags were amphibious, just like 2024 hags. But in 2014, they could breathe water, but they couldn't swim.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have a swim speed. Whereas 2024, they have a swim speed. I mean, I suppose they could swim just
that
like
feels like, well, they're a little bit more generous with alternate movement modes overall.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, they're giving them out to PCs, so why not give them to a few more monsters?
Yeah, exactly. But sort of their main combat spell now is Ray of Sickness.
Yep.
So that's actually new. It's not attested at all in 2014.
Yeah.
Whereas they lose Vicious Mockery, which was their one damage dealer.
Although, in 2014, if they had a coven, they could cast Ray of Sickness 4 times. Which...
Right.
In a combat, 4 times is basically at will.
Yeah. Considering that, well, I mean, if they have a coven, Ray of Sickness is wasting their time. Let me introduce you to my friend the Lightning Bolt.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
I like them having Ray of Sickness at will, just because it does give them a supernaturally thing to do.
Yeah.
That is combat effective, as opposed, and I really think they should still have Vicious Mockery, because that just is such a green hag thing to have, but it shouldn't be their major combat thing either, though.
Right.
No, I mostly like these updates.
Yeah, we had to reinvent that wheel a little bit for the witch class for Worlds Beyond Number. So we made up the spell Cackle, which is not identical to Vicious Mockery, but the idea is there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is fine. This is pretty good.
If I had any disappointment in this, it's mainly that the Coven magic is basically saying we're going to dial this way back because we don't want to worry about the CR if they do have a Coven. So now Coven is just kind of a extra. It's the thing we won't do anywhere else. It's a story thing. They get all these extra things that will probably never come up in combat.
Well, none of them are combat spells. So
yeah,
they're utility spells, and that's fine. I'm glad that they could find the column inches to spare for a bunch of utility spells, frankly.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me on the Green Hag. We good?
Yep. Let's move on to the Grell. For people who don't know, Grell are weird, aberrant creatures from, who knows where. You typically find them in the Underdark if you ascribe to that kind of limitations. They look like big floating brains with beaks and barbed tentacles that are poisoned and grapple and paralyze, and then they drag you up into the stalagmites. The right one, I think. And do what they will with you.
In my notes, I put down that the Grell is part 1 of the Tentacles and Beak saga, and part 2 will be right after them.
Oh yeah, no, and to the point that I have, to this day, I have to stop and think for a second when I talk about a Grell or a Grick and remember which one is which. I know which one is which, but it takes me a second every time because they're both tentacles and beaks.
Yeah, those tentacles look like they're a bad time. There's no such thing as a friendly tentacle. And this is no exception. They're really putting the lie to my whole AC hit points change a lot thing, though, because they didn't here.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, these really didn't
we hit a real
change a whole
here.
lot. The Beak gets about 4 more points of potential damage.
I do like the abduct trait. I think that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. It reinforces the they're going to grab you and drag you away sort of thing.
Yeah, and they're not enormously strong, so I think that I have to get kind of a targeted levitation or telekinesis vibe off of that, contact telekinesis. But it's pretty cool.
Right. I mean, it's described in the, I'm looking back and forth, but in the 2014, they describe how the Grell descend down, wrap their prey up in their tentacles, and then float away to their lair with the paralyzed creature. But given their strength of 15, there's a lot of creatures they're not able to, strictly speaking, rules as written, they're not able to really do that.
Yep.
But I don't care because it's cooler if they do.
Yeah, well, and in 2014 they had to specify to give the Grell a rule for moving a grappled target because there wasn't as much of a standard rule on grappling and moving, I don't believe. Whereas there is absolutely in 2024, and you just move slower. Well, they don't, so that's their deal.
That said, new Grells are less good at grappling. The DC to escape went from 15 down to 12.
Harsh.
Yeah.
Significant.
I mean, it's one of those things where a Grell grappling is iconic to what the Grell are about, and it sort of tells the story of who they are and what they do. Making it so they're going to do that less often is not a great feel, given that they're actually relatively low CR. They're only CR 3 at 55 hit points. They're only in my experience, they only live 1, maybe 2 rounds. They might pull off 1 turn. So if they're not able to grapple and drag you away, then
and they did not get a survivability boost.
No.
That's true. Now, if they land that tentacle attack, they are slowing down the killing of themselves also, what with the poisoning.
And the
Yeah.
paralyzed.
Now, and that's all a Constitution saving throw to make it happen. So you could get hit and still save, but it's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, and that DC is the same. The save, that con save is 11 on both stat blocks.
There is a somewhat minor change that is consistent with a bunch of other things that we've seen, which is they have blind sight, but they don't say that they're blind beyond their blind sight the way they used to say things like that, because senses are mentioned very briefly, and that's it.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that they've learned a different language. They used to know just their own language of Grell, which was never very helpful because nobody speaks Grell except Grell. Now they know deep speech, which very few things know, but somebody will.
Yeah, deep speech. Yeah, deep speech always seemed to be one of those things. They're trying to give that Lovecraftian weird aberration things that live underground speak this, but then it never seemed to get that featured in things because a lot of them already had their own languages too.
Yeah, like hookers who speak hookor.
Click, click, click.
So they do have their own D6 table of explorations, which is sort of not a drum I feel like they've beaten very hard in previous editions of, hey, they have a goal rather than just an appetite.
It is, but it's kind of a weird goal because it's like they were driven to come here from somewhere else, but now they're here and they're going to eat you.
Yeah.
Like, I know we have talked about this before, but it's like, how do you communicate that in game to where you tell that story? Because the Grell itself just wants to drop down and pick you up and eat you.
Well, in fairness, a lot of the reasons for exploration explain why they want to eat you.
Yeah.
Yes, but your PCs will never know that.
No.
Right. Actually,
unless they know deep speech and want to strike up a conversation.
Oh, and there are ways to get telepathy, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or non-language telepathy.
I do enjoy that the interstitial from the expert in the book is from Evard of Black Tentacle fame. Of course, he would know about tentacled creatures.
The other thing that does strike me as interesting about the Grell, and this will kind of like, bleed over into Grix, is that for a lot of monsters, they seemed very concerned about, like, this is a monster that does a thing, but we need to give it a niche because there's too many things that just do the same thing. And this is an ambush thing that comes out and eats you. And that's pretty much the entire story of a Grell. And they really don't have any more of a story than that. They are still just this thing, a thing with an intelligence of 12 that still only cares about jumping out and eating you.
Right.
I mean, you can't make them stupid. They're giant brains.
Right. Well, I mean, the interesting thing about the explorations, again, with the caveat that getting this in front of the players is hard. Each option radically changes the canon for what Grells would be, and I mean that's a wild thing for D&D to do. I expect that so much more from an OSR product. Like, this is an outlier among D6 charts.
It turns out that Grells contain multitudes.
Well, the thing that's interesting to me is I would expect this chart more from an edition that didn't try to say every single world is in the same prime material plane, because you can get away with saying that Grells in one reality might be one thing, in another reality or another thing, but it's all the same reality.
Yeah. I mean, many Grells pursue methods of traveling between worlds and planes of existence. Wild. I guess this is a major Spelljammer problem that I didn't know until now. That's cool.
I'm very interested because of something else that we started recording, because I don't remember what that particular book says about Grell, because I know they do touch on them, but I don't know what their story really was because it didn't stick with me in
Which
third
book?
edition.
Oh,
Spoilers. You will find out when it lands in the channel, I guess.
okay. There we go. You know, it's just my show.
I mean,
Why
sure
should I
you
know what's
run
going
the
on?
show. Why should you know? Yeah. I mean, it's your show, so you should get to be surprised sometimes.
Absolutely. No. If I was the kind of person who needed to control things, then not much would happen.
Accurate.
Especially
so
if
are we
you're
good
in
on
grad school. So.
Are we good on Grells and ready to move?
Let's move on to part 2 of Tentacles and Beaks, which are the Gricks.
Yep.
Gricks are worms that end in much fewer tentacles, only 4 tentacles typically, and a beak. But also, tentacles, beaks, no eyes, but now it's a worm on the ground instead of a brain floating around.
Yep.
I mean, they're also pretty easy to mistake for Surlons. If you're in that deep third ed canon right now.
Yeah.
We're different wormy guys. Also Avalakias. Moving on.
I do, though. It is interesting to me. This is part of why I brought this up, though, is when you look at what they do, being like the surprise ambush predator thing, the Grick, who has an intelligence of 3 and is basically an animal, does the same thing as the Grell in a slightly different way.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. So
the Grick
first
Alpha,
change
the Grick
for
Alpha is a little bit smarter.
By 1 point, yes.
By 1 point. It's an intelligence of
it
4.
is 33% smarter.
Yeah.
All right.
So we have 2
I
stat
love
blocks
being
for the
around
Grick.
people 33% smarter than me, which is why I'm on this show. So the Grick has changed from a monstrosity to an aberration.
Yeah.
Once I agree with the type change. Weird. It always should have been an aberration. Have you seen these guys? The hell?
Oh, no, that developed naturally. Why wouldn't you think that developed naturally?
Okay. Sure.
That's an octopus that got really tired of being in the sea and then grew a tail. That's all that is.
It's a quartopus, Jared.
Interesting. that change is not unaddressed in the lore as well. In as much as in 2014 they were just sort of creatures that lived in the Underdark and hunted. 2024, the origins are unclear, but when you see them, people think, "Oh, there must be portals nearby because they come from other planes." So they make some of that in.
Actually, it flavors it as they are a thing that got mutated because there is energy coming from another plane.
It could be that too, yeah. But we'll tell the aberration story.
Yep. Accurate. So in the baseline Grick, they have lost their damage resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, because that's gone away as a thing. So now they have twice as many hit points.
Right.
They jump from 27 to 54 because they're in the CR band where that resistance might matter.
Yeah.
Right? CR2, the odds that everyone using weapons in your party has magic weapon is not good.
Yeah, it's definitely more significant at this CR range.
Yeah, for sure. I think I really expect them to have blind sight and not dark vision.
Yeah, I know. I don't know where that vision is going on that.
What with the non-obvious eyes?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have eyes, but clearly they have some sort of visual sensory organ that we just don't recognize because they're weird, aberrant things that defy human comprehension.
Right.
We need 2 or 3 pages of a cross section of them being dissected. That's what we need for these.
That is certainly a thing that in some editions would have been published.
I mean, Dragon Magazine would have done a series of aberrant dissections and whatever, and told you the stories.
So they also actually retain their beak and tentacles separation because their tentacles grapple and their beak doesn't. It's not a huge mystery.
Yeah.
Um,
But they can actually beak you if they don't hit you with with their tentacles, which is an improvement.
Which is super important because that +4 is not actually terribly impressive.
No.
And they've lost stone camouflage and just gained stealth. Proficiency, not even expertise.
What's really funny to me about that is beyond just the fact that, everything that's a story thing gets rolled into a skill bonus now. Beyond that, though, the 2014 version it had that stone camouflage, and they're described as kind of these ambush predators, but it had no bonuses to stealth. So it sucked at what it's supposed to be able to do.
Yeah. I mean, advantage on a +2 roll. Okay, you got some chance.
Yeah. But it still feels like if that's your thing, you should be a little better at it than what it could be.
No argument.
The Grick Alpha has a very similar series of changes. An increase in hit points because damage resistance is gone, that kind of thing. I noticed that they lose camouflage, but to make up for it, they gain stealth.
They do change their name from Alpha to Ancient for reasons.
That is a thing too.
But yeah, probably because that's based on bad science, and maybe we could get away from using the term alpha for things.
What if the bad science comes from the other prime material plane, Jared? What if that?
There's a whole other prime material plane with it. This was true.
Yeah.
I'm not a bad scientist. I'm just a visionary.
I do also note that...
All right, Norman Osborn.
I note that the Alpha versus the Ancient follows the dragon trend of having attacks become less well-defined and evocative of what they're actually doing, because they no longer get a tail attack, they get a slam attack.
Sure.
Which clearly, if you're basically just a worm with tentacles and a beak, and you both have a tentacle attack and a beak attack, then hitting you with your tail is the other thing that you would do and call it a slam attack. Unless they're going to flavor it as they bludgeon you with the side of their head, but that seems like a weird thing for it to do. So
they close their beak and do bludgeoning damage with their beak instead of...
They punch you with their beak.
I mean,
for some reason.
I think I'm a little surprised that the tentacles kind of stop at an ordinary grapple and don't lead to some kind of grapple plus situation.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not only do I think the Grells and the Gricks have this odd thing where they're right next to each other in the Monster Manual, and they both do kind of similar things, even though one of them should have a lot more interesting stuff. Gricks don't have a lot of interesting stuff going on anyway.
Yep.
That said, the slam attack, unlike the tail attack, does knock the target prone.
Yeah,
so that's something extra.
Now, I mean, I just started having ideas for how I would bolt more concepts onto some of this to make them more exciting, and something like, okay, the Grick Ancient has also a parasite that comes after you. That seems kind of cool to me, like a weird extraplanar parasite. I don't know why that, but that's what occurs to me right now.
Then it could start bursting out of your chest like something, and
yeah, you're there. But also looking at the art, why doesn't it have sort of a moray eel jaw?
Yeah,
because when it was created back in probably first edition, it didn't. So
no, Gricks are newer than that. I think Gricks were third edition. Yeah, I think Gricks were third edition.
I feel like I've seen line art, old school first or second edition line art for Gricks.
I first encountered them in third, but that doesn't mean anything. I bet Forgotten Realms Wiki will tell me.
I say,
Yeah, they say they started in third.
yeah, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, never mind. Somebody in third edition decided that they had beaks instead of moray eel jaws.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel
Well,
like
clearly, the energy that mutated them is from the plane of beaks. That's what happened there.
yes.
Sure.
Yes. So it's looking very clear that we're not going to make it through the G's. If we can make it through 2 more monsters, at least my outro will work, and I won't have to change it. But we could stop. We could do at least 1 more and see where we get to.
I think the important thing is we spent 10 minutes on figuring out how this is Tracy's fault.
Yes,
I got some stuff for Grimlock, so we're cutting it close here.
All right. So Griffins. I mean, all-time great, fantasy monster.
Yep.
Just
eagle head,
everybody loves
lion
it.
body, wings.
Yep. Amazing look. Sort of the snowy owl situation.
They show up in all kinds of heraldry and whatever in the real world.
Yep. I love the snowy owl look that the ones in the 2024 art have.
I mean,
I love the Griffin Legends table. That's so great.
Snowy owl is a hard sell on that because they definitely don't have owl faces, but
fair. Just the like solid white look is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I like everything but one thing on the Griffin table. And that one thing is that it is just a legend that may or may not be true that they eat horses.
Right.
Oh, sure.
That's classic.
I have a hard time with that since that's been a part of Griffin lore since the 600s. And also it's been very heavily leaned on in D&D many cases.
It's also worth noting that their multi-attack beak and claw has just turned into rend. They've been dragonified. But the rend does the same thing as the beak did before, so they actually do less damage. But they do have the option to grapple now that they didn't have. So they're doing less overall damage, but they can do other things.
Yeah, the grapple's really, really important to their combat story.
Because they're going to grab you and fly up into the sky and drop you.
That's the promise, right?
Yep.
Like that's it's a key part of the fiction.
Eagle this thing up here.
Yeah. But otherwise, there's not a lot that changed here. Frankly, not a lot needed to change. They're pretty good.
Yep.
This isn't a major thing, but they are one of the few things that lost keen sight and got nothing for it.
No.
They have the same perception bonus. Brutal. They didn't even get a bonus to that. They just lost something. It's not going to come up a lot, but it's just they didn't even try and tell the story with the number there.
So they actually did have expertise before. That's the surprising thing.
Mm-hmm.
So now they just still have expertise. Fair. Okay. So Grimlocks?
Yeah. Let's do it. So for people who don't know, Grimlocks, I believe, come to us from, was it the Time Machine? H.G. Wells' Time Machine? Where the...
Sort of. More locks, but...
Yeah. I mean, in my head, they're basically the same thing. They are
pretty much an inspiration for them.
Underground dwelling humanoids whose eyes have become non-existent to vestigial. They're just sort of flesh over where their eyes should be. You oftentimes see them in as minions of mind flayers and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Interestingly, they are literally... Yeah. They are literally cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers, if you are as old as I am. However, they aren't, because they aren't humanoids anymore, because this is another humanoid that turned into an aberration, because they have no redeeming qualities, because mind flayers take humanoids and make them into things that you can kill without any guilt.
It followed their story of oftentimes being mind flayer minions.
But the Mind Flayers also gave them their cool skull loincloth aesthetic,
Yeah,
and
wear a skull right here.
and their garters. They wear garters now. I don't
Honestly, this is a weird thing, and I'm not even sure how to parse it, but I like the 2024 art much better than the 2014 art. And there's something that bugs me about the 2014 art because it was almost sort of like they're degenerate, therefore they're flabby. And I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't actually like the 2014 art. I do like the 2024 pretty well. I feel like they're getting a little bit smashed together with Quaggoths in the the coloration shift.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, nothing is going to be as metal as the second edition artwork where they had these weird like spikes that came out of their cheeks for no good reason. And I don't think it's ever described in any description of them. It's just the artwork has those spike things coming out of their cheeks.
So their senses are now just blind sight, 30 feet, with, as you've pointed out, no blind beyond, which is a huge loss here because that's their core story.
Yeah, it also bugs me because this also gets rid of the whole like they don't use echolocation does not exist in D&D. Nothing actually has echolocation.
They've dropped echolocation. They've dropped conditioned immunity to blinded.
Yeah.
So you can blind
that's a
Grimlock?
Yep.
That doesn't have eyes?
Apparently. It's really hard to... This is a case where it's really hard to know what having blind sight means. Right?
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of... okay, so what are you saying with this set of things? Question. And then their bone cudgel now deals psychic damage for reasons, as opposed to piercing damage like it dealt before, which is, if you can tell me how they're doing psychic damage with the bone cudgel, I mean, sure, bud.
Yeah, there's lots I don't like in this.
That works.
Yep. Yeah, I'll take that. No, so there's like a couple things.
The text says psychic energies from their transformation linger in Grimlock's bodies, and they channel these eerie forces into their attacks. But what?
This is another thing I don't like because their story went from they were things that were abducted by the Illithids that got out into the Underdark, and then they adapted to the dark, except now their story in 2024 is Illithids actively grab humanoids and turn them into these things. Which means part of their story is you used to be guilty for killing them, but now you aren't because the Illithid made them a not person. Right. Because Illithids are really good at making people not persons. I don't like that recurring theme.
No, it's not ideal.
It is more consistent with how Grimlocks are used in adventures. Like, they're not usually having escaped Illithids, they're usually minions of Illithids, is how they're used.
I think 5th edition has leaned hard into that. Before that, they were just humanoid species that used echolocation, which was kind of neat.
Yeah.
Fine. You win.
All right, so yeah, they make them, cunning enough to try to lure people into Illithid traps, which is maybe a little bit more of a combat partnership than I necessarily expected, but okay. Just because they are so disposable to the Mind Flayer, I guess you don't care if you catch them in a psychic blast, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
right.
they part of what they lost in the 2024 from 2014, which I'm not sure I was a big fan of this in 2014, but they did this whole thing in 2014 where Grimlocks have this cult where they worship illithids and they eat things brains because they know illithids eat things brains. So in that case, it does kind of sound, if you would have brought that lore forward, it kind of makes sense that they set things up for the illithids because they worship illithids and they're trying to say, look, God, I brought you a present, so
yeah,
I sort of get that, but I also wasn't thrilled with that expansion of the lore either.
Yep.
Yeah. The stat block tells a story that doesn't make sense with Grimlocks now. Before it was they had keen sentences, and that's why they could see without eyes. And now it's they don't.
And now it's
they don't have keen senses. They don't have eyes. Now shut up and just go with it.
Oh, so it's like sixth sense now, according to the lore there. Yeah,
it's about part of their psychicness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, are we good to move to?
I could see a story where you have like a giant cavern full of hundreds of Grimlocks, and the combined psychicness of all of the Grimlocks does a thing, and they kind of look like what we see in the art there, and they're all kind of swaying, and there's a psychic force that is gathered from the sheer number of low-level psychicness happening. I could see an interesting story there.
I could, but also everything underground is psychic. I kind of like them just having echolocation.
Sure.
So I think Brandis was getting ready to move us on to the Guardian Naga.
I was trying.
Unless we're going to get through the Guardian Naga and the Guard like real fast. I don't think
the Guard's going to take us much.
I'm inclined to agree.
So if we can get through the Guardian Naga in like 2 or 3 minutes, then we can go on.
Okay.
All right.
So
let's talk Guardian Nagas.
So Guardian Nagas have been separated from other Nagas, obviously, organization, etc. But they have moved from monstrosity to celestial, which is a choice. It definitely means they're not of the same type as other Nagas, I think. So it's kind of weird. But they have picked up a few hit points. They have tacked on a little bit more immunity. They're immune to restrained now. And
making Nagas something
blood.
Making Nagas something other than monstrosities does make some sense to the lore, because the lore has always been that they're like these immortal sort of spirit creatures or whatever.
I feel echoes of a recent conversation.
I also, goodness. So they used to be aberrations, is what we're about to tell you.
Yeah, in 3rd edition, which was really bizarre.
Yeah, it didn't make a ton of sense.
No. Celestial makes some sense for the Guardian Naga, which is the lawful good.
I don't hate it.
But I think that Nagas being different creature types by alignment is kind of weird. It's a little bit, I don't know. They didn't use it. It's just how they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd, but I don't know. There are more insulting things they could have done with their creature type.
It's a little bit like the difference between demons and celestials, right, or angels. Just a different lore, right?
I'm gonna look up Spirit Naga real quick.
In the 2024.
Yeah.
So with Guardian Nagas, we do have, for people who don't know, I guess, we'll go through the sort of lore of what Guardian Nagas historically have been. Nagas are from, I believe, Hindu mythology. They are spiritual serpent, like half human, half serpent creatures. In D&D, they have sort of been these intelligent, spellcasting serpent creatures. They're oftentimes guardians of one thing or another, even though only one of them is called a Guardian Naga. And they're from the planes, but they're oftentimes in the world. They're immortals. Yeah, and the Guardian Nagas are the good ones. They're the lawful good ones. We do have other types. Bone Nagas come up a lot, I find, in adventures. Then we have the Spirit Nagas that you were looking up, which are the
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, the main thing I wanted to see is I just wanted to double check, but yeah, they did do the duality thing where Guardian Nagas are Celestials and Spirit Nagas are Fiends.
Okay.
So,
see, that story kind of works to me.
as far as like just explaining what they are, I do kind of like they changed it a little, but it still makes sense because before it was like they guarded sacred sites and they spend their time while they're guarding sacred sites trying to figure out how to mess with evil Nagas. And now it's that they will become part of a society, and then as the society falls, they retain all of that lore and pass it on to other people. I kind of like that story, and it does still dovetail with, protecting, ancient sites and things like that. So yeah. I don't hate that.
No. Mechanically, their AC stayed the same. They gained a few hit points, like 9.
9.
They did add a lot more movement. They used to have a speed of 40. Now they have a speed of 40, but also a climb of 40 and a swim of 40. So they are a little more able to get around.
And I don't think any of that, messes with any established thing about Nagas.
No, and it kind of makes sense for how they're depicted in D&D as mostly snake things with humanish faces.
They did lose a lot of spells.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Oddly enough, though, they didn't gain any languages. They have Celestial in common, and they had Celestial before, even though they were not Celestials. So they're what used to be Rejuvenation is now a Celestial Restoration, that if you kill them, they come back a few days later. And then in 2014, they had a whole bunch of spells. In 2024, they've got Thaumaturgy at Will and a handful of once-a-day spells.
Yeah, they lost... let's see.
Freedom of movement, banishment.
Yeah, banishment's a big one to lose.
Bestow curse, which feels appropriate for what they were. Calm emotions, hold person. Shield of faith. Command,
Sacred flame isn't a big loss, but
Sacred flame
banishment
bad use of their turn for sure.
Banishment, it seems like a big one though to lose.
Yeah.
Even like story wise, it seems like this is the thing that should slither up and say, "No, you don't belong here." Boom.
No, although I don't. There's a part of me that doesn't hate, at least for what's going to come up in the fight. Like the things that they're still doing, are the things that they're going to be doing largely out of combat. They're going to be casting Gias on you. They're going to be using True Sight to see through your whatever you're hiding, because Guardian Nagas try not to fight you. And those are the things that are going to come up most often. And when they do get into a fight, okay, fine. Now they're going to hit you with their Flame Strike with an extra high level. So they gained that. It used to be Flame Strike at 5th. Now it's at 6th.
Much like we said about Coatls, if you're fighting a Guardian Naga,
we didn't say anything about Coatls.
We did before though when we talked about them.
We talked about Coatls. We said like if you're fighting a Coatl, you probably messed up, right? This is mostly here to be an ally, and I think that largely stands for Guardian Nagas.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, though, they did change one other thing with the Celestial Restoration, which is, I think before it was you have to use a wish to keep them from coming back, and now it's Dispel Evil or Good.
That's correct.
Which is a lot easier to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, considering that that use of wish is not necessarily part of the safe wishes list.
Yeah.
So you can burn out your ability to cast wish ever again. Just to kill this one Guardian Naga, buddy. Come on.
Who wasn't even
Why do you
trying
care?
to fight you?
Right.
Screw this one Naga right here.
Worst case scenario, this Naga was just trying to keep you from getting into a spot. You killed it. Now you can get to the spot and you're fine. You'll get what you want and leave.
I'll be back
I will say,
and I'm done with this dude.
Multi-attack does a lot for them, though.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
If you look at how much damage potential they have, giving them an extra attack is a lot.
Yeah. Their damage from physical attacks has improved. Spit poison's incredible. And so that has gone down a little bit, but they more than made up for it on bite.
Although the poison damage on their bite is down significantly, but their bite is up.
But you don't get to save against their. You don't get to save against the poison damage in their bite now, though.
Now you just take it.
Yep.
Yeah. If they bite you twice and you take full damage, that's 78 points of damage on average that they're doing.
Brutal. That's very good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's certainly CR10 damage scale for you.
Yeah.
And did we talk about the D8 table of lore?
We did not.
No, we did not.
It's working for me, right?
Oh,
it
yeah.
Definitely sells the intended to be a friendo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it is Guardian Naga lore. It's just things that this Guardian Naga happens to know and might share with you because they're friendly.
I mean, that's great.
Yep. And most of them, like some of them, an otherwise forgotten ritual or spell is a mechanical benefit, but a lot of them is just, they remember recipes using old regional ingredients that have been lost, or stories from forgotten gods and local spirits. Like that's just setting. That's telling the story.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, for something you're not going to fight, it's a badass, and I really don't have much of a problem with anything they did with them.
Well, it's one of those.
Right.
It's one of those creatures that like you're not supposed to fight it. It's there to be an ally, and if you do fight it, boy, you made a mistake because it's going to kick your butt.
Yeah. And I like basically every part of that. I can definitely see myself using these because I like Nagas generally. They're just cool. All right, so guards.
Let's go to guards. We have our next sort of NPC humanoid. Could be an orc, could be an elf, could be a human. Who knows? It doesn't matter. Shut up. And you have
Jeff,
your captain, guard captains.
Yes. Jeff, you know what they have? They have gear.
They do have gear. There's so many things that, like, it's such a great innovation to add the gear that you can get off of things, and yet they didn't do it on so many of the things they should have done it. It drives me crazy. So I do appreciate when they do it.
So the standard guard has really not changed, other than having a clear line. But I mean, of course not. That's why would it change? It was fine.
Their guard.
And then beyond that, we get the guard captain stat block, which gives us a good burly bruiser at CR4, which you always need a few more of those. A nice high AC.
And the only thing I would point out about the guard captain when it comes to their new design philosophy is in 2014, if you had them do 2d10 with their longsword, there would probably be a line saying they have this trait where they get to add an extra die of damage for their longsword, and they don't bother to do that here.
Yep.
It just does it.
I'm going to call that nothing of value is really lost.
Oh, no. I'm fine with it. It's just, it's a change.
It is indeed. It's a difference in like core philosophy of how damage should work.
Yeah, we don't have to justify this.
Yep.
It works this way because the spreadsheet says it should. That's fine. But this is a useful stat block. 75 hit points is getting a job done. At CR4, that's strong.
And you see the guard stat block and guard captain stat blocks used a lot because how oftentimes are players running afoul of the guard, and the guard could be used for a lot of things. Although we have a lot of different NPC stat blocks if people want to get creative a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I just need to know who's going to watch these guys for me.
Well, in Waterdeep, it would be the watch.
Right.
Which oddly, there is a sidebar from Volo talking about
The difference
Why-
between the guard and the watch.
You don't have the military and the police is the same thing, which I'm not going to go into, but it's an important distinction that people really should keep in mind.
Yeah.
You know what? Sir Terry had some words on that one, and I think we could all stand to go learn from Sir Terry again. Just good general life practice. This lesson will endure past this recording, no matter what happens in the future of American history.
Yep.
So I think that's a good place to stop the episode.
Fair.
Jared, thank you for joining us. Where can people go if they want to find more Jared?
All right. So you can hear me on Thacker with Advantage, which is the D&D podcast that I do with my friend Ange. Sometimes I'm on the Gnomecast. And you can find ancient, more and more older articles on Gnomestu or whatdoiknowjr.com, either one of those, where I used to write things, but haven't done much since 2025 kicked my rear end.
And Brandis, thank you for joining us. And where can people go if they want more Brandis goodness?
Delighted to be here and to find more of my nonsense. You can go to Blue Sky, where I'm Brenda Stoddard at wsky.social. You can find me on the Tome Show Discord. My personal blog is brandastoddard.com, and my Patreon is Brenda Stoddard.
All right. I also want to thank everybody who supports the show by being patrons at patreon.com/The Tome Show. Your support helps me pay the bills, and that helps make the show possible. Thanks goes out to Doug Palmer, Hyperlexic, Merrick Blackman, Michael Harrison. And as little as $1 a month, you can help make the show great too. Thanks to all of our patrons for their support. You can email The Tome Show at thetomeshow@gmail.com. You can also find me on various social medias. I'm Squatch, SQUACH, and message me there, and I'll get a notification, and then I'll go pay attention to it. Tracy is Sarah Dark Magic in all of her social medias if you want to reach out and wish her well. And we're going to call that episode 393, where a group of greedy Grimlocks gave way to our grandeur, as we discuss the Monster Manual for the 16th time in this episode of
The Tome.
I'm on the wall.